Welcome back, everyone. We're in the home stretch here. We have one final panel and then our awards ceremony. So thank you for still being here. This is going to be very fun and very solutions-oriented. The next session is really addressing before and after the menu solutions. This is about repurposing and innovative food waste solutions that help meet triple bottom line goals. And this next session is going to showcase new Menus of Change University Research Collaborative projects in collaboration with ReFed that are highlighting the measurable impacts of repurposing and employee-driven solutions with evidence on food waste innovations that enable sizable and lasting change in food waste reduction across food service, restaurants, and hospitality industries. So I'd like to introduce our moderator, Sara Burnett, who's the executive director of ReFed, who formerly served as founder and principal consultant at Burnett Strategy and Communications, and prior to that served a long tenure as VP of Food Belief, Sustainability, and Public Relations for Panera Bread. Sara will be joined by Ghislaine Challamel, senior advisor to the Stanford Food Institute, who works on MCURC research, such as the Collective Impact Project, and who formerly served as the MCURC Research Program Manager, among other roles, including supporting teaching kitchens at Google. And Matthew Ward, CIA grad and executive chef of residential dining at the University of North Texas. Matt started the first ever 100% plant-based dining hall in the US, and his food program in Denton, Texas, no less. And his food program consistently wins awards for its plant-based and plant-forward commitments and other accolades. So join me in welcoming this final panelist to the stage.
Do I just click forward or down? Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you all so much for sticking around. I like to think this is the real change agents, the folks who stayed all the way to the very end of the conference. But in all seriousness, I'm very excited to be joined by my panelists here today. I think in true fashion, when it comes to food waste, both of them are solution-focused, action-oriented, which is exactly what we want to see. And today we are going to be talking about food waste. And food waste is really at the center of what I call three crises. One is the climate crisis. I won't call it climate change, it is a crisis, so let's call it what it is. I think the second piece is nutrition and food access. And then lastly, there is truly a financial crisis when it relates to food. And there's two things that I would say. That's for food businesses, but that's also for the consumer and our pocketbooks that are continuing being stretched. And so today we're going to really talk about two innovative solutions and innovative programs that were focused exclusively on reducing food waste in the kitchen. And we're really excited to dive into that. Before we do it, I am going to give us just like really high-level flyover. I know we've heard a lot of information, but give you a quick context of food waste in the profile, both globally and in the US. First, when we think about food waste, a third of food is wasted globally. Very similar profile for when you narrow that down to the US. And when we think about that, I like to think about it this way, is one, I go into my favorite grocery store, I'm walking out with these things that I love and they nourish me and they get me excited, I want to go home and cook. I have 3 bags in my hand. As I'm walking home, I just put one in the trash can and I keep walking. That's the reality of food waste in the US and globally. So a third is actually wasted. And that happens throughout the entire supply chain, from farm all the way to landfill. When we actually narrow this down to the US, there's about 73 million tons like elephants, not pounds, of food that is wasted. And surprisingly, only about 2.4% of that is actually donated. So there's tons of food that goes to waste. When we equate that to economic value, which we're going to be talking a lot about the triple bottom line today, the economic value of that is $382 billion. I think there's a lot of food businesses and consumers and farmers who would like to get that $382 billion back in their pocket. And then when we actually equate that to kind of the environmental impact of this, food waste in the US, if it was grown all on consolidated cropland, that's 16% of US cropland that we use to grow food that is never eaten. Same thing for freshwater, 16% of the freshwater supply is used to grow food that is never eaten. This is absolutely the dumbest problem that ever existed, and I think everybody in this audience could probably agree that. And then 4% of the greenhouse gas emissions here in the US. And none of us get a pass in this. This happens across the entire supply chain. The biggest kind of guilty party in this is the consumer, but it doesn't all land on them. Some of that relates to the types of products that we produce, sell, the pack sizes they come in, the portion sizes we serve at restaurants actually result in consumer food waste. But plenty of that happens upstream all the way from farmer through manufacturer and producers and distributors. And really, when we think about food waste at Refed, we're thinking about how do we move as much food up the wasted food scale. So from here, if you're looking, obviously our goal is to always prevent food waste. Let's only grow things that we're actually going to be able to get to the table and consume. But as we go along this, there's different interventions that we can have because zero waste is not necessarily attainable. We recognize that. But today what we're going to focus on is that donate or upcycle, which is still right at the top of this curve, is really where we want to be, is saying how do we use all of the food that we're growing. And then lastly, I recognize that I didn't actually introduce who Refed was, so I'll do that before I turn it over to you both. So Refed, we are a national nonprofit, and we focus exclusively on food loss and waste. Our goal is to work with all stakeholders. So we work with food businesses, we work with policymakers, we work with farmers, ranchers, across the entire supply chain. We work with composters and folks who run landfills to say, how do we continue to move things up this scale and back and get as much of it to consumption as we can. And all of this is in service of saying the triple bottom line. What do we all want to achieve, right? One, I think everyone in this room is united around how do we reduce the environmental impact and especially the negative externalities of food and food waste. Second is the financial impacts, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. There's real financial impacts. There's impacts to your margin, there's impacts in terms of labor, operational efficiency. Those are real things that can be addressed when you reduce food waste overall. And then last but not least is the people aspect of it and how we help our communities, help our people, and engage our employees, which I'm really excited to continue. I think some of the great conversations that were started earlier today, both these programs, spoiler alert, are really focused on employee-driven initiatives. And it's really exciting to hear the kind of the frontline worker being the driver of real change. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ghislaine first, who's going to tell us about the FoodWise pilot.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sara, and it's really an honor to be there and represent the work of the team that's behind me for FoodWise. So FoodWise is a program that was created based on Refed and WWF work that basically train employees for 4 weeks, organize a contest on food waste reduction ideas that employees can have, select the one that the site team find the most impactful and doable, and implement it for a month. So we adapted that on 10 different sites across the US. You can see that in the slide behind me. Excuse my French. We had a total of 215 frontline workers who participated in it. They collectively submitted more than 180 submissions that were all from like very easy to implement to AI technology-driven ideas. We measure the success of these ideas through data. So it was attendance, satisfaction. We asked them how much they liked the training, etc. Food waste, of course. But also, we try to also measure their mindset and behavior change, because this is really what drives us in the end. The focus of this program was really to empower our frontline worker to lead and not just comply on food waste, to tell them that they have a space where they can express themselves and they can share their ideas. No one better than them know how to reduce food waste, and that was the idea.
And Matthew, can you tell us just for a second about the Repurpose program?
Yeah, so Repurpose with a Purpose, a chef-led initiative to creatively repurpose overproduced foods in our kitchen. We know that post-consumer is a huge problem, and we wanted develop a program where we could make an impact in our kitchens and in our organizations by looking how we treat our overproduction of food in our kitchens and kind of make an impact from that. So we did a 4-week research sprint. We were able to generate high quality dishes using existing kitchen tools, skills, and repurposed items. There was no added budget or equipment. Really, it was chef-driven. A lot of creativity, a lot of collaboration, and it built a lot of confidence for our kitchen staffs to be able to make these decisions and to come up with these creative recipes for repurposing items that were already in our kitchens. And then also, main focus really, and what we saw came out of this was a lot of culinary pride. And we saw a ton of food waste reduction as well. So it was this was one of the main projects I was able to really work on as co-chair. I'm co-chair of the Executive Chefs Committee for MCURC. So this project is near and dear to my heart, and I'm very proud of it. And it was a proud moment for the Executive Chefs Committee and for the MCURC. So it was really great from a creative standpoint and from an employee engagement standpoint.
We're just getting started, and I'm already going to go off script, but I'm very interested as a chef. What was a creative recipe that you saw or a new idea that you really got excited about?
I think everybody who was involved came with a different way of repurposing. We saw chefs that took vegetable peels and fruit peels, made flavored waters with them. We saw some very creative and what I would consider almost fine dining type creations that came out of it. I know at UNT we did an arancini that used leftover barley from the line. So everybody kind of did their own creative riff, and the great thing was they were practical. They were practical recipes. They were recipes that were easily executed, and I think that was the main focus of the project, was making sure that we had creative recipes that were easily executable in our kitchens with any skill level.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that really, I think, probably comes a little bit from being employee-driven versus maybe driven from a culinary or a chef perspective. It's really interesting to me that both of these are team-driven projects. You kind of handed the keys to the kitchen over to your staff in both these projects. What did that look like for you? How did you experience that? What were you surprised by?
Well, the biggest surprise, and this is a story that I kind of shared in the meetings coming up to this, was my biggest surprise was that one of the most ingenious and one of the most creative part of ideas that came from this actually came from a frontline dishwasher in our operations. And he felt very embarrassed to bring this idea to me, and he said, "Hey, chef, can I talk to you?" And he pulled me aside and he said, "Hey, listen, I have this idea for the competition part of the FoodWise training." He's like, but I just don't know how to communicate it to you." And I was like, "Well, let's talk about it." So literally, he came up with a way for us to kind of reduce the amount of food that we were producing as it came to the last half hour of service. So he said, "Hey, chef, I think when there's 30 minutes left in a service period, that we should only fire 20% of the food that we would fire. And then when we get to maybe 10 minutes, maybe we just fire a quarter of that amount." And I was like, "James?" I was like, "Where'd you get that idea?" He's like, "I came up with it myself." He says, as the food was coming back off the lines, I saw these full pans of food coming, and we had to dump it because it was on the line. And I said, "That's a great idea, and I think you should submit that, and I will help you submit that and communicate it in a way where it makes sense to those who are judging the competition." So that was one idea that changed how we managed the end-of-service production. And then it got me thinking about how I manage and how I go around and I engage my employees. And I had to make a shift to be in operations and, quote unquote, be in the trenches, and to really actively listen and and empower my team to make decisions, important decisions, and to give them, to give them the power to make those decisions without me there. And I said, I trust you guys to make these decisions, and you have shown me through these trainings and through these projects that you guys are able to make decisions on your own, and yes, I empower you to make those decisions. So.
That's great. Ghislaine?
Yeah, this is a great story out of it. So Matt and I, we both worked on both projects together. And so as you were reflecting on Foodwise, I was thinking of Repurpose. and the fact that the Repurpose project was so rich that we have a report that really shows all the science, the calculation that ReFed has done, and the ReFed team has been amazing on this, on the greenhouse gas emission that were saved for this project, but also the cost savings, and you had like all these amazing recipes that are in the toolkit. So you have like two documents that are maybe more for the nerdy, data-driven people, and for the ones that prefer more culinary-oriented solutions. You can find it on the MCURC website. For me, what really struck me for the Foodwise project is the amount of ideas that we got. When we consolidated the 180 submission, we had 120 ideas, different, original, that we can use. Like, I mean, they will be available. This is a pre-launch. It will be launched at the end of this month. But all these ideas will be available to all of you to pick into and experiment. What was very striking for me is we have to make all of these resources available to the greater number of people. And so a lot of work that I've done was to develop the training, but translate it. And I translated all of these elements in Spanish, but also simplified Chinese, Tagalog, and Haitian Creole, which is very close to French, so maybe that one was a little bit easier for me. But I use AI, and I use all these new technologies, and I share you that because probably the translations were not perfect. I submitted them to people who speak that language, but being able to do that last mile to make these resources accessible to everyone, and our workforce is very diverse, and a lot of the people we work with don't speak very well English. As a second language English speaker, I have been there, and I think it's very, very important to make that little effort so that they can benefit from it. One thing that we talked when we were preparing this talk is that shared some educational anecdotes with my kids, and I said, like, what we say in my family is problems belong to those who can solve them. And this is why empowering our staff is so important, because they can solve the problem. So we need to give them that problem. We need to help them help us. And that's really the spirit of Foodwise.
And when you said that to me the first time, it really stuck with me, both as a parent, but also professionally. So thank you for that. For both of these programs, I'll put on my naysayer hat of it's really great to try some things like this. It's really great to do pilots, to do a challenge, to educate. But how do you make it stick? How do you get it to become something more that really has legs? How did you translate that?
I think the biggest thing for us was to, give my employees the responsibility of coming up with the solutions, right? Mm-hmm. If they're part of the process, they'll be on board with it. And I think that was the biggest thing. Also, I give my staff the flexibility to make changes on the fly. They can make the changes. If we have any overproduction, they have the power to put those into a daily special or into the line service. So we're able to change things on the fly from an online from our menu management system. And really, it's up to them. And really, the biggest thing was getting everybody excited about it. You know, I had a lot, while we were doing the FoodWise training, everybody was like, okay, is it time for FoodWise training? Chef, is it time for FoodWise training? They got excited about it because the information they were giving was operational. So they were able to, you know, give their ideas as we were doing the trainings and really understand it from an operational standpoint.
Yeah, I feel the flexibility of it is very important. And so again, like the training and all the resources were developed as one, but all the documents that I share with the team were adaptable, so they could, it was Google Docs basically, so they could go in, change whatever they wanted depending on like their history of training, what their team knew, and also what was important for the leadership as well. When we were evaluating the ideas and helping the teams select these ideas, we developed kind of SMART goals to say, okay, these are the criteria that we want you to take into account when you select the right ideas. And we asked the leadership also to explain these criteria to their team. Like, you need it to be practical, you need it to be implementable in a certain time frame, because we only had a few weeks to implement them. I think one thing that really helped in making these ideas and this cultural shift stick is when you have a clear alignment between leadership and the team, and that everybody understands the end goal. And this is where the triple bottom line, I think, is a very great concept, is that everybody understands, like, saving money, making money. Everybody understands the planet. Everybody understands, like, that we need to take care of our people. And I think all of these three dimensions, when you talk about them at every level, it resonates. I think one of the speakers earlier was saying, like, sometimes you are more focused on the return on investment, but sometimes the cultural aspect of things counts more. And I think being able to show these different aspects in these two projects was very important. One element was that the site where the managers were most involved were the ones that worked the best. So we, as leaders, have a real role to show that it's okay to bring up ideas, it's okay to share. You are not just here to, you know, make the dishwasher or serve the food, but there are other things that you can do, and your input is valued. And I think this is the most important on this.
And hanging a little bit on your comment about having kind of clear goals and KPIs in the outset, but also being able to showcase results, both qualitative and quantitative.
Yes.
How were you able to do this through these projects? Like, I always like to get into the data, even if it's qualitative. Like, what were the results of both these?
Well, I'll start. I think first, one of the things that we did with the contest is that there was a winner. And so the fact that the people were featured, that was super important. And I think even though it's not like objective hard data, it's something that has a return on the team, because they show that it was just not something that we took from them, but something that we gave back to the people who contributed. I was very surprised about the food waste measurement, because that's a very, very hard element. All the 10 different sites did it differently. So in fact, I was not able to consolidate all the data in one measurement that would make sense for everyone. So we have 10 different type of measurement. Some didn't even measure, like, the way of food waste. And what really matters is this, is that you have empowered people and that they see the results. For leadership, I think the fact that these training were just like 15 minutes every day for 4 weeks, it was easy to put in the existing workday. And that was also one element of the feedback, is that having something very flexible, very adaptable was very appreciated. And in terms of impact, observation was like all the teams observed a reduction in food waste. Some measured it. We had more or less savings depending on the size also of the operations, but that was very striking for everyone.
And Matthew, anything to add?
Yeah, so at UNT, we don't have all the food waste technology that a lot of colleges and universities had. So we went old school. We did pen and paper, or pencil and paper. But we entered into our numbers into our food management system that will then forecast for us and stuff like that as well. But it helped us to foster a culture of trust and real-time feedback from our employees. So I think that was a great one. And then, of course, the qualitative data from the dishwashers, the servers, the cooks, that information is just as valuable as the information you can get from the dashboards and whatnot. But the one thing that everybody loved was the calculator on refed and calculating the food waste that they saved and seeing the actual, seeing how much they were saving, from all the tools that are on the refed calculator tool, and now everybody uses it now, and they have them on their phones, and they're like, "Hey, chef, look what we saved today," and all of that. So it's a sense of pride. It's been a sense of pride, and a lot of the things that we've learned from FoodWise and with repurposing are now part of our everyday at UNT. So that's a proud moment for me. So.
And I would just echo what I think I've heard, because I've heard so much about employee excitement, engagement, is that I'm guessing if you did an employee engagement survey, your numbers would go through the roof on this. So I'm glad to see that excitement, which is invaluable in an organization.
Yeah, we had the satisfaction after the training, and the numbers were super high. The Net Promoter Score, which shows how people would recommend the program to someone else, was at 9. So it's very high. 90, sorry. It's very, very high.
That's great.
And just to pipe in, with the success of, we did it in 1 of 5 of our dining halls, and with the success we had with the FoodWise training, now we're instituting it residential dining-wise in the rest of the 4 dining halls moving into the fall, and it will be part of our training program moving forward, because it works. We know it works. We know it's, it gets the employees engaged, and and the rest of the dining halls want it as well. So.
Wait for the updated version.
And with that, as we close out, any last thoughts as you think from your perspective, as you look at both these programs, highly successful, what would you leave the audience with, a challenge or a call to action?
Well, I think the call to action is pretty obvious to me, is like they have the solutions, so give them the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think, like I said on one of our prior calls, is the best ideas don't come from a spreadsheet. They came from the dish room. So empower your team, listen actively, and when I say listen actively, listen, actually listen with intent, and then let them lead. When employees know they're trusted, they'll surprise you with what they come up with and what work they will do for you moving forward. So yeah, both of these programs have been game-changing for us as far as employee engagement goes. So I would definitely say get on the websites, look into FoodWise, look at the Repurpose operational toolkit. Every operation's different. You'll know what parts you can institute and what parts you can't. So I would encourage everybody just to get it, get there, get on it, and just really just empower your employees and just engage them.
And we're here.
Yeah. And I would just leave the audience with, food waste is a solvable problem. It's one of the few things where we've modeled in our insights in our tracker and database 46 different solutions that are actionable, scalable, that people can implement today. And so I think, but what it comes down to is about having the right culture within your organization, agility, creativity, and that empowerment. And we've definitely seen through both of these programs and the work that MCURC has done, that really that employee engagement is a huge unlock. And it can create real solutions, real impact today. And I'm just very excited about that. And with that, Matthew, you want to tease the next session of our portion?
Of course. So what we've seen through both the Repurpose Project and FoodWise is that when you create the space for your team to contribute, when you really listen, and like I said, actively listen, they rise to the occasion with ideas that are smart, practical, and impactful. That's why I'm especially excited for what comes next, the Solutions Competition. It's a celebration of exactly the kind of creativity and commitment teams across the country stepping up to reduce waste in ways that work. So let's take a look at what they've come up with.
All right. Thank you all so much. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, and so without further ado, the Repurpose Solutions Awards ceremony. So, as Matt mentioned, this is built upon the research presented in this session. This is a chance for different organizations. We asked them to submit this spring leading up to the Menus of Change Summit. They submitted their top solutions and recipes that leveraged upcycling and addressed a food waste solution within their organization. And solutions and recipes were reviewed, and you'll hear more about that from our ceremony announcers shortly. But I'd like to thank Matt and Ghislaine and Sara for the last session. I didn't do justice to explain what ReFed is, and it's an organization to look up. So ReFed is a US-based nonprofit working to catalyze the food system toward evidence-based action to stop wasting food. Tremendous resources through ReFed, so please be sure to check out their website, as well as the Menus of Change University Research Collaborative website, which also has the research that was just talked about. Okay, so now I'm going to introduce the ceremony, announcers here. So Anna Hammond is the founder and CEO at MCURC Foods, which is an environmental impact food company building a circular food future. MCURC solves for inefficiencies in the supply chain by partnering with large vegetable manufacturers and regional farmers to upcycle byproducts and surplus into delicious, healthy, and shelf-stable ingredients for institutional food service, retail, and emergency food with data-backed environmental and health impacts. Luis Santos is the executive chef at Keck Medical Center of USC, and he has a passion for combining nutrition and flavor for over 2,000 meals served daily for patients and in retail operations. And he has over a decade of experience in patient meal care across diverse healthcare settings. Louis is the recipient of the 2025 Healthcare Without Harm Plant Forward Recipe Competition, so we'll celebrate him when he comes on the stage. And finally, John Stoddard is Associate Director of Climate Solutions at Healthcare Without Harm, which is an organization that works within the healthcare sector at the intersection of food and climate. So he supports healthcare by implementing plant-forward menus, reducing food waste through source reduction and donation. And I'm going to invite the announcers to the stage.
Thank you.
You guys can go up there. Great.
I'm Anna Hammond, the founder of Making Foods, and I've been asked to reflect a little bit on why this competition, what the importance of this competition. And I was thinking about what to say. After 2 full days, our brains are very tired, and we've heard a lot of, oh, you can't hear me? Should I start over? Oh. Raise your hand if you heard anything I said. Oh, good. Amazing. So I've been thinking about why we like competitions and why it's so fun to watch them on television and why we love to watch sports. And that's coming off a week I have 4 grandchildren. And I went to a soccer game of the 5-year-olds. They're 2 5-year-olds. And it was that soccer game where they're just, they're all running in the wrong direction. They're all on top of the same ball. They kick the ball and they make a goal in the wrong place. But then the coach and the parents are sort of telling them, no, you have to work with your teammates, you have to go here, you have to go there. And then you really, really celebrate when they pass the ball, when they kick the ball into the right goal, as they kind of go up through that process of learning how to play together. And I think competition in the kitchen, or kitchens in general, can feel like that too. You know, everyone's working really hard at the same time. You have to be in sync with your partner. You have to have a leader who's good, but a leader who understands and takes the time, as Matt Ward just told us an amazing story of working in his kitchen and listening to someone who isn't a chef, but who's absolutely essential and who sees everything going on. So I'm really excited about what this competition sort of can become over the course of the coming years as we really start to solve issues of sustainability in kitchens and systems, food systems that we know we really need to accelerate to make change, get to reducing food waste in half by 2030, which is the UN SDG goal, and that's only 5 years away. So we'll hear about the way that kitchens work together to solve issues. It's a great kind of metaphor for what everyone in this room does, working, whether you're in distribution or working on supply chains or developing menus or collecting the data. And we are seeing progress, and that is because people are competing to get to the goal we all know that we need to reach. John.
Hey everybody. For those that don't know me, I'm John Stoddard, Associate Director of Climate Solutions with Healthcare Without Harm. Healthcare Without Harm seeks to transform the healthcare sector so that it reduces its environmental impact, becomes a community anchor for sustainability, and a leader for the global movement of environmental health and justice. In my role with the organization, I work with hospitals in making change at the intersection of food and climate. This includes supporting hospitals in the World Resource Institute's Cool Food Pledge and in the goals of the U.S. Food Waste Pact. Every year, we hold a plant-forward culinary contest for chefs in healthcare in partnership with Menus of Change. The winner of our 2024 contest is here, Chef Luis Santos from Keck Hospital of USC, who brought home the gold with his deconstructed Honduran tamale. Yeah, I ate it. So, well, my next line was, please join me in congratulating Louis. So let's just do it once more. Woo!
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, all right. Oh, this one. I had this whole thing prepared. It was an incredible honor getting the Clean Med, the Culinary Award. I've been very grateful to be recognized for a dish, the deconstructed Honduran tamale. This dish was more than just plant-based. It was a reimagining of a tradition. It's a celebration of my heritage, culture, the belief that food can be both healing and transformative. In bringing this tamale to the table, I wanted to pay homage to my roots while embracing the values that bring us all here: sustainability, wellness, and the innovation of healthcare food systems. To be acknowledged in this space, surrounded by all these people that are using food as a positive tool for change, is a tremendous privilege. But tonight isn't about one dish or one award. It's about growing a movement we're all a part of, and the brilliant culinary ideas that are reshaping the future. It's now our pleasure to introduce the Menus of Change winners who are leading the way in advancing sustainability, climate smart, and culturally rich cuisine. These food professionals are rethinking how we source, cook, and serve food, not just nourish, but to protect the health of people and the planet. Get ready to be inspired by bold flavors, thoughtful sourcing, and powerful stories behind each submission. Let's celebrate these visionaries who are not only changing menus, but changing minds. Thank you.
So before we announce Before we announce the winners, I'm going to go over the competition with you. So first, for the Repurpose Solutions competition, organizations were invited to showcase their most effective food repurposing strategies with the goal of reducing food waste and advancing sustainability. The contest was open to initiatives at any scale, from single-site projects to organization-wide programs. To qualify, submissions needed a clear description of the repurposing strategy, supporting documentation and photos, and impact data collected over at least a 2-week period. During the 2-week implementation, teams monitored available surplus, repurposed food, and total weight diverted from waste. All data was categorized and entered into the ReFed impact calculator. The solution was assessed in 3 impact areas: environmental, through a greenhouse gas analysis; economic, comparing cost per serving between repurposed and standard recipes; and social, a qualitative assessment on employee engagement, community benefits, consumer experience, and inclusive menu offerings.
So our esteemed judges come from all parts of the food system, so that was great. Adam Kay, co-founder of the Spare Food Company. Elia Golden, dining director at CU Boulder. Ghislaine Challamel, Stanford Food Institute, senior advisor. James Bickmore Hutt, CIA R&D manager and corporate chef. Thomas Trainer, chef manager for the CIA. Jason Hull, director of culinary, Marin Country Day School. Got to have some good K through 12 in there. Lexi Razka, sustainability director for Boston University. Michael Kahn, global culinary strategy and development at Google. And Selena Mao, data and research analyst for ReFed.
Next slide.
Teamwork on the stage.
Woo. Solutions were judged in 3 main categories. First, impact. The strategy had to be specific and measurable and follow food safety and employee safety standards and address a significant food waste issue. Culinary merit. The strategy had to be creative, feasible for a typical kitchen, and engaging of staff members. And innovation. I don't need to explain innovation to this innovative audience. Next.
Each submission was evaluated across 8 categories, with a maximum of 5 points per category, for a total possible score of 40 points. And now the moment we've all been waiting for. The ideas that are not just inspiring, but revolutionary. Sorry, I don't have a drum roll with me. This will be the drum roll.
One submission was called the Salvage Social Hour, submitted by the UC Merced. Unfortunately, the representative, Mitch Van Acton, executive chef, could not come to the summit, but the Salvage Social Hour is an innovative, zero-waste culinary event model that transforms food surplus into gourmet experiences while raising funds for food security initiatives. This solution leverages the concept of repurposing high-quality food that would otherwise go to waste, such as surplus produce, blemished, but I'm imagining perfectly imperfect, edible vegetables, and excess proteins from vendors into thoughtfully created, crafted high-end dishes. The event also serves as an educational tool to showcase how professional kitchens can integrate food waste reduction strategies into their operations. Next slide. Ooh, double-handed. Next is Wellness from Waste. Nima Mehergan, can you come up to the stage? Are you here still? No. The sous chef, oh, is he there?
There he is.
Oh, great, amazing. Sous chef from Vergen Grand Senior Living. Wellness from Waste is a sustainability and nutrition initiative launched at Vergen Grand Senior Living, a facility that serves 3 meals daily to a vulnerable senior population. Hi. Designed to reduce food waste while enhancing resident wellness, the program repurposes safe, unused ingredients such as vegetable trimmings, stale bread, and leftover prepared foods into nutritious, flavorful dishes. Built on 3 core goals: team inspiration, environmental impact, and resident connection, Wellness from Waste fosters a kitchen culture of creativity and care. By training staff, implementing tracking systems, and integrating flexible menu planning, the program has improved food cost efficiency, increased staff engagement, and strengthened the residents' sense of pride and connection to their meals. Very cool. Thank you for participating. I have a person on my right, this on my left, and the thing here, so let's get patient. Vegan mayo, Chef Douglas Best from Vanderbilt. Can you come up? Woo! At Vanderbilt, the kitchen team implemented a sustainable culinary practice by creating vegan mayo from aquafaba, the liquid drained from canned chickpeas, traditionally discarded as waste. There's so many things that come into the kitchen that you can use, and this is really cool. This house-made vegan mayonnaise replaces standard mayo in dishes and sauces, offering a cost-effective, plant-based alternative while reducing food waste. The initiative includes staff training on both aquafaba collection and consistent vegan mayo preparation. By shifting away from the purchasing of commercial vegan mayo, the leadership supports sustainable habits.
Awesome.
Also enhances kitchen resourcefulness and reinforces a culture of waste reduction and creativity.
Tea Pache. Welcome Chef Matt Ward from University of North Texas. At the University of North Texas Eagle Landing Dining Hall, the culinary team introduced Tea Pache, a fermented beverage made from infusing pineapple peels and cores, previously discarded food waste, with spices and piloncillo, cone sugar. Inspired by the traditional Mexican drink tepache, this initiative not only eliminates waste from 30 to 35% of the pineapple that was once unused, but also offers a lower sugar alternative to sodas and juices. Beyond its environmental impact, beyond its environmental impact, Tepache has strengthened team morale and cultural connection with staff members, sharing personal stories and family recipes that have shaped and enriched the beverage's evolution. And then we have the baked fritter. Please welcome Peggy Policastro, representing Rutgers. The chef couldn't make it, so Peggy's representing them. Rutgers University transformed commonly discarded food scraps into a protein-rich baked fritter. This creative repurposing strategy not only reduces food waste, but also results in a nutritious, appealing, plant-forward center-of-the-plate item. The fritter is served with a variety of dressings and accompanied by a small, fresh salad, offering a balanced and sustainable dining option.
Next, we got the Feed MKE Environmental Collaboration Office. Unfortunately, we couldn't have a representative come, but the Feed MKE project is a 2-year initiative inspired by the idea number 9, waste reduction and sustainability consumption, from the Milwaukee Climate and Equity Plan. This collaborative effort unites public, private, and government partners to address critical community challenges, including food insecurity, waste reduction, landfill diversion, and environmental impact. The project aims to create systemic solutions that advance both equity and sustainability in Milwaukee. Zuka in healthcare, can we get Vera Zuka is a fiber supplement snack like a truffle or a bar, designed to support glycemic control and improve nutrition using a simple, cost-effective formula. Made primarily from upcycling apple juice pulp, oats, and almonds, Zuka turns nutrient-dense waste into a practical healthcare intervention. Currently being tested by pediatricians and implemented in a single kitchen unit, Zuka offers a scalable solution to chronic disease prevention. Conscious Kitchen, University of Reading. Mr. Steve Guntrip from your Reading on stage. Yep. Conscious Kitchen is designed to open chefs' eyes to tangible and intangible benefits of minimizing food waste financially, environmentally, and socially. It combines operational efficiency with culinary creativity to create a culture where sustainable is not just a goal, but a daily practice.
And the winners,
And the winners are? John.
Next slide.
Oops.
The Innovation Award goes to Zuka Healthcare, Stanford University. Woo!
Louis, do you want to say it?
The Culinary Merit Award goes to, we have two winners, it was a tie. We have Conscious Kitchen and Teopache.
Woo! And the Impact Award goes to Wellness from Waste, Bergen Kitchen, Senior Living. And the all-around grand prize winner is Chef from University of Texas for the Teopache.
I just wanted to give a shout out because the Teopache idea was not mine. I have a very innovative chef that runs Eagle Landing at our dining facility, Chef Rodrigo Blanquet Suarez. So all of that Teopache and all of that is his idea, and it's just one of many that are sustainability and repurposing projects that he has in his dining hall. So congratulations to him.
Yeah.
Thanks, you've done a great job. Thank you and your team, really cool. I think that's it, yeah.
Thank you all so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, Vera, sorry. Do you want to get one photo? Okay, while this photo is happening, I will let you know that the winners have won 4 passes per organization to our Plant Forward Kitchen training levels 1 and level 2 to continue to invest in their teams, to learn about plant forward cooking and food waste solutions. And the grand prize winner has also just received an admission to our Menus of Change Summit next year, which is the first week of June, as well as the Refed Food Waste Solutions, which will also be June of 2026. So we are now at our closing remarks. I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Walter Willett to share his closing remarks on behalf of Harvard, and then to Siobhan Hansen, who will share on behalf of the Business Leadership Council. And I'll close it out with some final thank yous from the CIA, and thank you for sticking around. I hope to see you all again really soon when I'm on the stage and then at the reception as well. So thanks again to the winners, and welcome to the stage, Walter.
Thank you. This is the closeout. I won't go beyond my usual professorial lecture of an hour and a half, but I do want to take this moment for thanking many people. First of all, our host here at CIA, many people, whole team, many I think we didn't meet or see at all, but especially Abby, who really managed unmanageable group of people here. So thank you, Abby. This is really incredible. And thank you all for coming. This is really a sharing event, and I appreciate so much, and I know everyone does, the incredible range of experiences, gains in knowledge that we shared with each other. I could go on and list many, many examples. I just wanted to give a couple. One was especially the New York team that talked about their transformation of their food, their default for healthy, sustainable dining in their hospital system, other healthcare systems, and their schools. That was amazing. And one point I wanted to just make, if someone from that team will contact me afterwards, I would really like to hear about how you're going to publish this information. It really is important to document that so we can share it with an even wider audience than we have right here today. Another example, hopefully forthcoming, someone in one of the sessions raised a concern about using nuts in food services because of allergies, and I've heard that a lot. Actually, our food service at Harvard doesn't use nuts because of concern about food allergies, and that's the #1 healthiest food that comes out time and time again, so it's a huge loss. But then afterwards, Ken Toon told me that they've managed to serve nuts at University of Massachusetts, and I'd like to hear about just how he does that next year, and he agreed to talk about that and share their experiences. So hopefully we can continue that experience. One little bit of good news I did want to share, that just in the last hour I got an email saying the Lancet Commission report was accepted at the Lancet Journal, which means it is officially accepted for publication. And that was good news. I think Fabrice had to leave early, but he really deserved. You're there, Fabrice. Okay. I was looking for you earlier. He was breaking out a bottle of champagne. He stood in the closet back there. Fabrice put incredible effort into that, the whole process, but especially in the last month or so to meet the deadlines that were there and we had to meet. But I did, turning to a perhaps serious aspect, I think everyone knows we are in a situation unlike any other menus of change that we've had before due to what's happening in the last 3 months. We do have a crisis in communication. We heard that a lot, and even before this, people said they were confused. There's just an overload of information from the internet and so many different sources, and how to sort out the reality, the solid information from misinformation, disinformation. But the level of that disinformation and misinformation has just been ramped up orders of magnitude in the last 3 months. And it's going to be much worse. At the National Institutes of Health, people are being censored. They can't say what their publications, what their results show. They can't publish in certain major journals. In fact, editors have told me that authors of papers that had already been accepted have had to remove their name from those papers because the content wasn't approved by NIH. And it's not just NIH, it's all federal agencies now. The Centers for Disease Control, which was the most authoritative information on disease risks, especially communicable diseases, now is also censored. And I think it's just very hard to know, to trust something there. There will be correct information coming up, but how to sift it out from what's been censored out and what's just patently not true is going to be a huge challenge. So that is something that we're going to have to be addressing as a group. We will, again, as I said on the first day, do our very best to give you the best available evidence that we can put together from all sources. And that does come with a recognition that science is a process, that it may not be the final exact word that we have available at this time. And the reason we continue to do research is to fine-tune, to give more detail, fortify what we know, but we have a great confidence that we are in the right path, the direction we've talked about of healthy, plant-based, plant-centric, plant-forward, all the names that you might want to put. That is a very healthy direction, and we know it has positive benefits for the environment. Our global connections are particularly important and will even be more important in this era going forward. So it's just incredibly important and valuable that we have Michael Bacher here as our partner at CIA, because of the strong connections that CIA already has globally, and we know that those will become even more reinforced over the coming years. So again, I'd like to thank everyone who's here. I look forward very much to meeting you again here next year. So thank you.
Thank you, Walter. Really appreciate your leadership here as well. In my closing remarks, I'd like to just kind of focus on the fact that we were promised from Menus of Change this year a few things. And as I highlight some of the closing remarks, the reflection on celebrating success stories, offering a systems view, highlighting chefs as key change makers, offering panel discussions, culinary demos, and consumer insight sessions, and building collaboration, all in the course of 2 days. And this has just been amazing, and I think we have really been able to lean into this and more. So congratulations, especially to Abby in planning all of this. But first, I really want to acknowledge and thank the CIA. Michael, Greg, Abby, and the broader team for your leadership and for hosting this important meeting and platform, Menus of Change. Thank you for your trailblazing, sharing, collaboration, and for pushing this timeless and global concept called Menus of Change that helps us come together to drive the transformation or the transformational change we all need and want to embrace. Here are just a few of my takeaways from the last 2 days, and there are many, but I want to highlight a few. I appreciated the opening sentiment from Abby, which was a call for compassion in decision-making, to act with care, to think outside of yourself and to think about the world around us, especially now. In the spirit of success stories, Walter reminded us that we've made enormous progress in public health, including an 80% reduction in coronary heart disease. And our new CIA president, Michael Bacher, and changemaker exemplar, reminded us to consider the times we're in. And I quote, "You cannot change your context, you can only change you. Change is complex, and we don't always have clear solutions. Progress requires more than mandates. We can all work together to support each other. We all have influence. We're shaping tastes, and we are truly stronger together. We can imagine a better food future, and we're here because we believe food system change matters." Do you remember the 4 concepts Michael's noodling on? Vitality, vital gastronomy, and I want to call out that this was beautifully unpacked today in the fireside chat with Michael and Pedro Miguel, where we learned about, first, Pedro Miguel's positioning around curiosity, second, his exploration, and third, his execution and willingness to share his career and leadership on Amazonian cuisine. Back to the concepts, conscious culinary leadership and conscious cuisine. I want to reflect on Danny Nierenberg, who authentically led our first session with her personal story about her husband's difficult departure from his job. She talked about the critical nature of having leadership skills to drive incremental progress at every level. And she elicited examples of the positive progress occurring in organizations large and small. A few compelling points on leadership from our panelists were be patiently persistent and with context, offer clarity and empathy through listening, and have a bias toward action. Do something, leverage your influence. We can all create impact, just start. We need leadership that comes from a place of empathy, lean into partnerships that we wouldn't normally engage with, learn how we can change together. And finally, courage is contagious, joy is contagious, but above all, hope is contagious. In the session on policymakers reshaping menus in collaboration with food service, I was struck, just like Walter, with the incredible work happening at the city level. It truly is a model for global influence. The Mayor's Office of Food Policy acting as the connective tissue. I loved Niti's framing on connective tissue.
The New York City Office of Food Policy created a rallying cry to have so many organizations come together under a banner that's inspiring, inclusive, and dynamic. That is truly bold leadership. We also heard from Anne at JBF on federal advocacy and resources for collaboration with food service. She talked about the food service industry in numbers, and she reflected that this industry makes a difference and has the right to be asking for change. Food is a highly trusted industry. She offered a very practical way to engage. How can you get involved as a chef to join a JBF boot camp? Learning about advocacy, engaging, and making your voice heard. In the session on supporting and expanding ethical values-based sourcing on animal proteins, Rachel from WRI asked the question, is there such a thing as better meat? She suggested there's no single way, or no single better way to produce meat across all environmental, ethical, and economic considerations, but there is a path forward. Things like shifting to more plant-rich offerings, emphasizing less, as well as less and better approaches, as well as creating a demand for transparency. And I loved the short session with Ramanan, founder and president from One Health Trust and senior research scholar from Princeton, who was very clear on the importance of antibiotic-free meat. The panel that followed left us with a few key takeaways, including the role that we all have. Everyone should do a little bit of work. Again, another spur for all of us to take action. Be open to collaboration with others in the industry, and our poultry farmer, Mike, suggested that when you're purchasing protein, look at claims and that higher level animal welfare standards are being met. H and Helene hosted a brief session about using your power to build ethical supply chains, how organizations can become a responsible generator of value-based procurement locally and globally. Their advice to buyers and where to start: pick the smallest unit of change, whether it's a cluster of accounts, one cafe, one dining station, start small. When starting a program, identify and cover the gaps. Whatever your chef gets accomplished, celebrate them, and be persistent. This does not happen overnight. And finally, toward the end of yesterday, Fabrice hosted an amazing panel that featured a variety of ways we're celebrating solutions from the plant kingdom, including science-driven global nutrition frameworks translated into inclusive, actionable opportunities for food service. The Eat Lancet Plate, Native Soul, WANDA, WBCSD, and Eat Better by Design offer us tangible, practical ways to engage and celebrate better nutrition for people and planet health. They're all part of this community and accessible to you. Today we heard how CIA grads are enacting systems-level change, both early and mid-career. It was wonderful to see how the CIA graduate programs are shaping chefs as expansive thinkers, challenging students to push each other to create collective solutions, and with deeper intention around how to think and how to solve problems. We explored current food trends like snackification, GLP-1s, and protein, and shared insights from Sara at Google and Scott at Panera. They made a great team reframing the way we think about and promote food offerings. Sara reminded us that change comes with thinking courageously and differently, like redefining value beyond price. Sara and Scott gave us comfort by suggesting that it will take a series of steps to get to that perfect place, and it's okay to take incremental steps. I loved the idea around experimenting around the trend. I was fortunate to moderate our session on serving up powerful plants with a host of very close partners and friends, learning from this dynamic panel about how we can leverage new consumer insights, nutrition science, including the USDA dietary guidelines, and behavioral science, as well as leaning into partnerships, campaigns, intentional language, tradition, nostalgia, and global flavors to increase the adoption of whole food plant proteins. The Good Job strategy can help us think differently about talent, our workforce, and the ROI in employee investments. The case studies from Delta Airlines, LA Schools, and Delaware North were shining examples of organizations with a rich commitment to the space. The practical session on enabling equitable food options in the private and public sector offered even more examples of delivering guest access and enjoyment of menus of change, aligned menus and food experiences. and our last session on repurposing and innovative food waste solutions to meet triple bottom line business goals, followed by the Repurpose Solutions Competitions Award Ceremony, offered top solutions and recipes that leverage upcycling and address food waste challenges in a variety of organizations. Our breakouts for both days offered a chance to dive more deeply into strategies like defaults, diversity, ethical sourcing, heirloom ingredients and deliciousness, the role of chefs in building and supporting value chains, regenerative agriculture, and more. Receptions, lunches, book signings, and breaks allowed us to meet and greet each other, to connect with new friends and colleagues, and reflect on what we learned. And don't forget about all the incredible resources like the Plant Forward Opportunity Report that can continue to help explore opportunities for change. The Menus of Change Leadership Summit continues to be an inspirational place to come together, collaborate, share successes and challenges. And as I reflect on the last 2 days, my personal plate is brimming with possibilities, and I hope has created some personal and organizational actions that you'll take as a result. Remember, Michael said, change is messy, but urgent. So what changes are you all going to make? Embrace the complexity. Have you figured out what role you will play? Start with better, bolder questions. What questions will you start to explore? I hope you're leaving a lot more inspired, with a bias toward action and a few more connections to change makers that you can collaborate with until we meet again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Siobhan, for so eloquently tying our experience together over the past couple of days. And thank you again to Walter for sharing your important insights as well. So I'd like to now take time to thank each and every presenter who contributed to the main stage and breakout sessions, including the CIA faculty and students who led the tours and demonstrations today. I really hope that you're all feeling really energized and inspired to take action, as Siobhan mentioned, and that you go home and take to heart that you can act with care and compassion to make decisions big and small that will instigate change in the food system. Keep being curious and consider how you might lead your organization with this holistic sustainability in mind. All of the incredible resources, recipes, and information shared at the summit are again available through a password-protected page on our Menus of Change summit, on our Menus of Change website. And I want to also underscore how much we really value and take to heart your feedback. So you will receive in the post-event email an opportunity to fill out an evaluation. You can also grab the QR code here. This really helps us continuously improve our summit. We're constantly taking notes about how we can tweak things for next year, so we want to hear from you. And it really means a lot to us when you fill out the evaluation. So please take a moment to do that over the course of the next several days. If you are seeking continued education credits as a culinary professional, you can find information about this in the app as well as in the post-conference email. And let's take this is a big shout out to all the teams who helped make this event possible. Our conference operations, culinary, our AV team back there doing a great job, our special events team, facilities, and our CIA faculty and staff, and of course our great program team that helps support me through this summit. I also want to give another shout out to our advisory councils. They really helped shape this program. We got together in September and filtered through ideas, and that shows up here today, and I am very grateful for all the input from both our Scientific and Technical Advisory Council as well as our Business Leadership Council. I would like to also thank, so this is our councils. I'd like to also thank again our webcast sponsors, and for everyone tuning in over the course of these past 2 days. I'd like to also thank our grantor, Toast.org, and our gold sponsors, Hannah Maruki, Kraft Heinz, Oatly, and Unilever, as well as bronze, 50 Cut, Custom Culinary, Illy, Jack and Annie's, and Mascal Tef. We got to enjoy such delightful things over the course of these 2 days, so thank you so much. All of our wonderful supporting sponsors, again, that we got to taste wonderful and delicious foods over the course of this summit, and our corporate sponsors, as well as our media sponsor and our research collaborator. And coming up next from the CIA and our program team, we hope to see many of you in November for the Worlds of Flavor International Conference and Festival, which is hosted at the CIA at Copia in Napa, California. And this year's theme is Mediterranean culture, tradition, culinary tradition, exchange, and invention in the 21st century. And finally, we sincerely hope to see you back here in Hyde Park next June. So save the date for the first week of June for our 2026 Menus of Change Leadership Summit. And we are more broadly next year going to look at a theme of water and its impact on food service, from ocean solutions to kitchen operations and sourcing and menu development. We'll also be exploring themes of healthy aging, healthy beverages, sustainable stadium concessions, plastic use in the kitchen, and much, much more. So please save the date. Let's take a moment to look at our commitment forests. This is our final moment. You can keep doing this. I see more. Thank you. We have 50 now. This is great. It's still a bit of a grove, a little bit less of a forest, but ultimately what we have here is some folks who've decided to make a real visual commitment to making change. And ideally, we will find a way to connect with you between now and next summit to see how things are going. And we'll bring this project back. And I'd love to see by the end that we can actually get this whole field filled with trees that are ultimately commitments to the changes we wish to see. So without further ado, it's time to close this year's Menus of Change Summit and venture downstairs to our closing reception to enjoy one more round of delectable creations made by our CIA chef team. Enjoy a drink, connect with fellow attendees before you head out. Thank you so much for spending the last 2 days with us in person and live stream. Take care.
For the health and safety of your customers, it's very important to prevent cross-contamination of gluten-free foods with those containing gluten. So why gluten-free? The gluten-free category is more than a $100 billion industry that grew 10% over the last year. Gluten-free is the third most popular health claim on menus today, and 1 out of 5 people today eat gluten-free for various reasons. As a chef, you can help these customers stay safe while still enjoying their favorite foods. Here, we'll share some tips to become a safe dining space for customers who can't eat gluten. These suggestions are based on industry best practices and are not all-encompassing or a substitute for internal research and training due diligence. To start, let's talk about preparing and cooking gluten-safe. Before you begin preparing gluten-free foods, make sure everything is clean and sanitized. Clean and sanitize all work surfaces and equipment. Wash all tools and pans. Thoroughly wash your hands, and put on a new pair of gloves before prepping gluten-free foods. To prevent cross-contamination, make sure to designate tools and equipment for gluten-free foods only. Use a separate cutting board, toaster, microwave, and fryer for gluten-free foods. Use foil or parchment paper to avoid potentially contaminated areas. And lastly, designate the top rack of the oven for gluten-free foods. Serving and storing gluten-free foods separately also helps prevent cross-contamination. Serve gluten-free foods with separate knives, plates, and utensils. Change gloves before serving gluten-free foods. And store gluten-free foods in separate, clearly marked containers or reseal in its original packaging. A commonly used system in professional kitchens to ensure the safe handling of food is called HACCP. This acronym means Hazard Analysis Critical Control Points, and every professional kitchen needs to have this safety system in place. Once your operation has a gluten-safe system in place, your menu's gluten-free offerings can be full of exciting and craveable possibilities.
At Google, we want to help drive Googlers towards a more balanced, wholesome food choice architecture. So from thoughtfully crafted recipes to substituted ingredients, modified cooking techniques, we're able to deliver great flavors while providing better choices to users.
India has predominantly been culture-rich in having plant-forward diet. And it has always been a rich heritage where we carry a lot of plant-forward diet in our cooking. Bringing that to the Googler's life here has been easy because the way we offer the food program has always been plant-focused.
So we strive to design food experiences that make healthier food choices more intuitive. We emphasize fruits, legumes, beans, whole grains, and a variety of offerings, as well as sustainable hydration and portion-controlled sweets to really help people make better choices. So we focus on making these dishes look appetizing, ensuring prominent placement at our buffet lines, and promote those across our various communication channels. We have sustainable hydration as the first thing you see when you walk into a cafe, into a micro kitchen. When you open your coolers, you see freshly squeezed juices at eye level. Then non-sugary beverages, and only hidden the sugary beverages for those moments when you do want them. But overall, it is really focused on sustainable hydration. So the food team works to build such practices into the design of the program itself.
We prioritize healthier eating by excluding palm oil or palm oil made products in our cooking. We also look at addition of ghee by giving it separately to the users to choose to add it to their dish. There are certain dishes that we might have to use that, but we use it sparingly so that we give them a healthier choice. Our menus offer a wide variety of whole grains, millets, unpolished white and red rice, as well as the brown rice. We use them into our dishes ranging from breakfast till the evening snacks. Just by alternating the core ingredient and reducing the GI content, we give them a healthier choice to make from. The right spices and the right balance is what we try to keep with the core recipes. For us, it's always about keeping these three mantras in mind. Spice it up, Spice it up by using bold flavors. Use the spices to create bold flavors in your cooking. Create layers in your cooking which give you different flavors. Use local seasonal produce and innovative ways of cooking. The produce that is grown across regionally, pick that up and use them in your daily menus so that you are as close to making the freshest produce possible. Create to bring in old favorites with newer cooking techniques to enjoy the culture-rich foods that we prepare. We also have embraced different cooking methods. We use old favorites with newer cooking techniques and bringing them to the diners every day rather than deep frying or using a lot of oil. We use different cooking methods to prepare the dish. This has always been our best way of putting out best of the dishes. We have also received a lot of positive feedback regarding such inclusions in our menus. The most popular ones are the millet dishes from the breakfast, the millet halim that is offered as a local specialty, the umami mushroom burger that we offer, and also the millet garlic fried rice. We also use strategic signages across the buffet line so that we educate the users of the choices that they are making and picking up the right grain versus the white polished grains.
Waste prevention in our kitchens is a top priority for our chefs. And we focus on that through the lens of data-driven decision-making. Our chefs track the waste that gets produced in our kitchens, and that data helps them to make decisions around changes to the recipes, on changes to cooking volumes or methods that lead to reducing the waste even before it reaches our buffet lines. Gen Zs and millennials have quite a nuanced and multifaceted view towards the role of food and healthy and sustainable eating, and how plant-forward diet and the role of food contribute to overall well-being. Influencing factors like social media, sustainability concerns, and the need for personalization plays a big role in their choice on what to eat on a daily basis. Many Googlers across the company are very keen to learn more about the food that they consume in the office. We want to help them to make more conscious food choices, to introduce different dishes, plant-forward alternatives, and nudge them into more plant-forward methods of dining. We've seen a lot of changes over the past years, and predominantly a real focus on personalization, drive to sustainability, to making conscious food choices that help them at being better, healthier today and over the long term. So we recognize that there's a global health challenge like obesity, diabetes, and cancer. And our food program takes it as a responsibility to make thoughtful choices to address those challenges through a balanced plant-forward diet. We have successfully managed to address some of these challenges by adapting diverse tastes while maintaining a healthy balance and ensuring our offering resonates with everyone. And through that, we celebrate cultural traditions and see food as a way to bring people together, to enhance productivity, and to support our overall company culture.